morning. Good morning on this snowy Sunday morning. Welcome to First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts. Welcome to church. Whether you're watching from home right now or watching on YouTube a little bit later, I hope that you find some solace today and also hopefully a little bit of joy. My name is the Reverend Liz Weber. I'm your Minister for Pastoral Care. I want to welcome everybody to service, but I also want to note that lately, those of us who are your ministers and staff, we've been talking about how sometimes it feels hard for folks in the sanctuary and folks online when we've been doing multi-platform worship to feel connected to each other. We weren't asking to get snowed into our homes instead, but here we all are together, and I guess this is one way to feel our unity. I hope that you're all safe, cozy, and warm around your screens, around your fireplaces, worshiping in slippers or snow boots, wherever you are. So to introduce our folks leading worship today, we have Beth Norton, our Director of Music Ministries. We also have a thank you to Miranda Loud, who's been our guest organist all month. This is Miranda's last day with us, and she specially prepared today's pieces to work on Zoom. So thank you to Miranda for being with us all month and especially for pivoting with us when we decided to meet online today. We have two members of our Congregational Life Committee who you will see one way or another leading worship with us. Teresa Hoobsher Younger is our Zoom chat host. So you'll see her in the chat and she's here for you if you have any questions or need help with anything. You'll also see Jeff Brainerd here on screen in just a little bit. Thank you to both Teresa and Jeff. And finally, a very special welcome back to Lily Vander Zanden, who has returned to be our tech person today. Beth and I are both so grateful, Lily, that you graciously said yes when we called our snow day and came in on very short notice. So folks, those of you who would like to, feel free to say hi to Lily in the chat. It's been a while since we saw her. We got to catch up a little bit earlier, and it's good to hear that she's doing well. Lily, we're glad to have you here. We have these flowers, which are so beautiful, and were thoughtfully arranged this week by Kathy Spang. She actually brought them into the sanctuary before the snowstorm started, and we saw each other right after Beth and I and our team had called it to come online, and she gave me the flowers to bring home so that they could even be here during our snow day. And so Kathy, thank you. We don't often thank the whole flower committee, but you all do really beautiful work, often behind the scenes, and then just letting your bouquets speak for themselves. But we should thank you because you do a beautiful job and you do it graciously and lovingly with a lot of care for our community. So folks, our flower committee is Ellen Whitney, Dinny McIntyre, Donna Peterson, Faxon Green, Helen Stoddard, Jan Goddard Taylor, Joy Madden, Kathy Spang, Linda Reynolds, Marty Wallace, Petra Betts, and Susan Ellsworth. Thank you all. Thank you all. The last part of our welcome is usually our COVID spiel. I don't think we need to do that since we're online, but you can check firstparish.org if you want to find out what our precautions are. Last week, we also shared that our senior minister, Reverend Howard Dana, came down with COVID during his recent vacation. Fortunately, his case was mild and he's feeling much better. And we have good news that he will be traveling back to Massachusetts tomorrow. 3 of his family members also had COVID and they are all doing better too. So hooray for healing and hooray for being together in community in whatever way we gather. Let's keep settling on into worship. Our call to worship today is by Reverend Gary Kowalski. We gather here to worship, to seek the truth, to grow in love, to join in service, to celebrate life's beauty and find healing for its pain, to honor our kinship with each other and with the earth, to create a more compassionate world, beginning with ourselves, to wonder at the mystery that gave us birth, to find courage for the journey's end, and to listen for the wisdom that guides us in the quietness of this moment. Jeff has our chalice lighting.
Good morning. If you have a candle or chalice at home that you would like to light, please do. Our chalice lighting is from Catholic activist Dorothy Day. People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do. And now let's say together our chalice lighting response, which is on the screen. I was going to say in the order of service, but probably don't have that. It's on the screen. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength. Enliven our spirits and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now. Now let's enjoy some centering music from Miranda.
Good morning, everyone. Jeff and I are now going to lead the responsive reading, which is a classic poem by Marge Piercy. It was written back in the early 80s. And as we read it, I'd like to do so with an appreciation of the way our understanding of gender roles and gender expression has and has not evolved in the intervening 40 years. I'll read the Roman type and Jeff will read the italics, and you're welcome to join in on either one. This is Counsels, and we'll put it up on the screen. We must sit down and reason together.
Perhaps we should sit in the dark. In the dark, we could utter our feelings.
In the dark, we could propose and describe and suggest.
In the dark, we could not see who speaks, and only the words would say what they say.
No one would speak more than twice. No one would speak less than once.
Thus saying what we feel and what we want, what we fear for ourselves and each other into the dark.
Perhaps we could begin to listen.
The women must learn to dare to speak. The men must learn to bother to listen.
The women must learn to say, I think this is so.
The men must learn to stop dancing solos on the ceiling.
After each speaks, she or he will say a ritual phrase.
It is not I who speaks, but the wind. Wind blows through me. Long after me is the wind.
Our reading today is from a traveling Jewish theater, but a little bit apocryphally. It's a reading that I found when I was a teen, and I still love it. Stories move in circles. They don't go in straight lines. So it helps if you listen in circles. There are stories inside stories and stories between stories, and finding your way through is as easy and as hard as finding your way home. And part of the finding is getting lost. And when you're lost, you start to look around and listen. So many of us are a little bit lost these days. And so I want us to look around and listen. But how do we listen to ourselves, to others, to God, and what happens when we do? Before we go there, I want to acknowledge that I'm leaning heavily into the metaphor of listening and hearing today, the physical act of hearing. And I know some of you have a hearing loss, so it might not be your favorite metaphor. Thank you for your patience. Part 1. In the dark, we could utter our feelings, listening to ourselves. Reverend Dr. Howard Thurmond spoke about the practice of listening to ourselves as listening for the sound of the genuine. He said, "There is something in every one of you that waits, listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. Sometimes there is so much traffic going on in your minds, so many different kinds of signals, and you are buffeted by these. Don't be deceived and thrown off by all the noises. Cultivate the discipline of listening for the sound of the genuine in yourself." How do we discern the genuine from the traffic in our minds? Personally, when something is genuine, I feel more expansive. When I'm ignoring what is true for me, I feel more tight and closed off. I know I'm on the right track when I have a sense of opening, of hope or aliveness, an eager yes. For some people, the sound of the genuine can be much more literal. Susan Conrad shares her experience. She says, "I was working at a job I had once liked, but had begun to dread. I had developed repetitive strain injury in both of my arms because of my frustration and stress. And I was in a relationship that was very hard to bear. I had poured my heart and soul into this relationship. My heart and soul felt crushed. I knew I was miserable the way things were, but I was just unable to make a change. I remember one morning sitting on the edge of my bed in real agony, and I suddenly experienced what I can only describe as a voice, not a voice I heard with my ears, but something I knew internally with a clarity I had never experienced before. The voice said simply, 'Stop.' It didn't elaborate, but I got the point. Stop trying to force myself to be someone I could never be. Stop trying to frantically fix what was beyond fixing. Whatever this voice was, it was resonating deep inside of me. It was telling me to pay attention, to be present to what my life was telling me. And my life did change dramatically after that. I got out of the relationship and left the job and told myself that whatever happened, I would continue to listen for that voice. Part 2. No one would speak more than once, more than twice. No one would speak less than once. listening to others. Howard Thurman is clear that it is not enough to listen for the sound of the genuine within ourselves. We must also listen to the sound of the genuine in other people. Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen observes that to really listen to people, we have to be willing to encounter their losses and pain. She teaches physicians in training to do just that. She says, being that we are a technical culture, our wish or our first response to loss is try and fix it. And fixing is too small a strategy to deal with loss. What we teach the students is something very simple. We teach them the power of their presence, of simply being there and listening and witnessing another person. Remen asks her students to remember a time when they themselves experienced a loss or a disappointment, and to remember what others did or said that was helpful versus not helpful. The class combines their reflections into one big list. What were the things that helped? Listen to me for as long as I needed to talk. Talk to me in the same way after my loss as they did before my loss. Sat with me, touched me, brought me food. What were the things that didn't help? Gave me advice without knowing the full story. Made me feel that the loss was my fault. Remen notes, it's all very simple stuff. Next, the students sit together in small groups. Each shares the story of their loss. Whoever is not sharing listens. And there is only one instruction. Listen generously. The listeners have prepared by remembering the things that helped them feel heard in the past. They have remembered what it felt like to receive non-judgmental care, to have someone cry with them and celebrate with them. Remembering helps them be ready to offer care to their classmates. And so their only instruction is listen generously. Remen concludes, wholeness includes all of our wounds. It includes all of our vulnerabilities. It is our authentic self. It says simply, this is the way we connect to one another. When we connect with the genuine within ourselves, we're better able to connect with the genuine in others. We can all learn from Rachel Naomi Remen's teaching and do our best to listen generously to the people we encounter. Part 3. It is not I who speaks, but the wind. Long after me is the wind. Listening to God. When we truly make space for the sound of the genuine, we open ourselves to the divine. Each of us has our own understanding and experience of the divine. I believe in a love that is within, among, and beyond us, a love greater than anything I can put into words. And I like to call this love God. I believe it is always with me, even in moments of despair, there for me. And yet there have been times in my life when I have felt very alone and when love seemed not to be present at all. One example is when I was hospitalized as a small child. I was having surgery on my hand to shorten a ligament that was too long. And there was a moment just before surgery that was frightening. I was surrounded by doctors who were there to care for me, but I didn't know who they were. I felt alone and afraid. Years later, in seminary, one of my classes met in the school's chapel. It was a spacious room with beautiful wood and a giant round stained glass window. After class one day, I found myself in meditation. I imagined God's love as the light coming through the stained glass window, gentle, warm, consistent, and so very big. I imagined being surrounded by God's love, bathed in it. And then I thought of that childhood memory. I felt a flash of the fear and loneliness. I opened my eyes, taking in the chapel with its streams of light and my sense of God's love. I closed my eyes again and returned to the memory. Only this time, my awareness of the chapel light and God's love and the operating room all merged together. The same group of doctors was there, but with an added presence: love. I suddenly knew in my bones that it had always been there, even way back when. Love was with me even when I hadn't been able to feel it. It couldn't keep scary things from happening, but it was there for me. It was waiting for me to listen, to look for it, to connect. Friends, stories move in circles, and so it helps if we listen in circles. Let us listen for the sound of the genuine in ourselves and in one another. Let us listen generously. May we each feel love with us in our time of need, and may we offer our care where we are needed. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. Our reflection question today is, to whom or what do you need to listen right now? I invite you to type your responses into the chat and to read them over if you're on a screen, and then I will read some of them so that we can all hear them together. To whom or what do you need to listen right now? It's a lot of good responses here, and I'll read just some of them and invite you to keep reading more of them, because isn't it good when we have more people at worship than we can read responses? To whom or what do you need to listen? To learning the pathway that is my child's. To myself or to my heart, instinct, an insistent voice telling me to slow down and stop trying to say yes to everything and everyone. Others' fears of the future and my own. I don't know. The light of the Creator. Listen to what feels essential and inspired from within. The earth's loud and subtle messages to me from the snow, the wind, the sun. Noticing that I am listening to the sound of the genuine in myself in some things, and I need to listen to the genuine in myself in all things. And listen to hope. Keep those responses coming and feel free to read or just to settle into a space of quiet meditation as we hear this interlude from Miranda. Reverend Richard Venus used to say, "We are a caring community where we share special joys which lift our hearts and concerns which bring us pain. In this time, we are heard. When we are heard, we are honored. When we are honored, we are healed." And so here are the joys and sorrows that you have asked to share with one another today. We have some significant sorrows and some significant joys. Sadly, Faxon G's sister-in-law Linda died suddenly this week, last week on Sunday morning. Linda had been a close friend to Faxon for 53 years. Faxon welcomes cards, but no calls at this time, please. We offer prayers for her, her brother Bill, and their family in their grief. Judy D is scheduled to have hip replacement surgery on February 2nd. We hold Judy in our hearts and minds with hope for an easy surgery. Thankfully, our senior minister, Reverend Howard Dana, is doing better and returning home. We offer prayers for continued recovery for Howard and for everyone who has been ill with COVID. And finally, we celebrate with Sue W. and her extended family as they welcome Arctis Ember, born to Sandy and Garrick. All are doing well in the Northwest Territory of Canada. Congratulations to the family and welcome to little Arctis Ember. Who else is on your heart and mind? I invite you to call their name aloud or type into the chat or both so that we can hold each other in prayer, hold our world in prayer. You can keep them coming as we sing together, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Will you pray with me? Oh, great love, our lives are filled with sorrow and with joy. May we listen for the sound of the genuine in each moment of our lives. In times when we are ill or in pain, may we receive good care and find healing. We pray especially today for Judy and for Howard. In times when we are grieving, may there be a balm for our grief. We pray especially today for Faxon and Bill. In times when we are celebrating, may we savor life's joy. We pray with joy for Sue, Arctis Ember, and their family. In all times, may love be our steady companion. As we gather in circles and in councils, may we be present to the genuine in ourselves and in others. May the stories we tell and the stories that move through us and the stories that we hear guide our way home. Let us abide in this stillness, listening to the silence together.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true
We light our social action candle for our fifth Unitarian Universalist principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Our Share the Plate organization this month, Boston's Ujima Project, is a great example of people working democratically and conscientiously to build a more just economy in Boston. Their investment funds leaders are Bostonians of color and working class Bostonians. They evaluate applications using metrics that they and their neighbors value, including employing at least 60% people of color, using worker satisfaction surveys, and demonstrating a commitment to green energy. Nia Evans, Ujima Project's executive director, says before the organization was founded, I had been hearing from community members things like, I actually do have visions for my particular neighborhood, or I do have visions for the city of Boston. I just don't have the resources to carry it out. Boston Ujima Project equips people with those capital resources. During the pandemic and in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, people have pointed to the Ujima Project and felt empowered. Evans says, Ujima being present allowed people to say, okay, they are talking about an economy where we don't have to have someone losing for someone to win.
First Parish is entirely sustained by your generosity. We will take up an offering now, and of course, we always welcome cash and checks, though those would have to go through the mail today. So it might be the perfect time to try out texting to give. Instructions are in the chat. There's a new phone number, but the process is the same. And the little phone, when you text it, it'll text you right back and walk you through the process to set up giving your credit card. And then once you've done it once, simple here on out to do it again and again. We are sharing the plate as always 50-50 with our Share the Plate organization, which this month is Boston's Ujima Project, as Jeff just told us about. And soon you'll be able to invest directly in Ujima Project as a supporting member. Google them and check out their website. They're pretty great. The offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity.
The storm storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah.
The storm is passing over. Thank you, Gospel Choir. Thank you, Beth, for pulling that out of our archives. It's good to see those faces again. As we come to the close of our service, I invite you to check out FP Weekly to find everything that's going on all week. That's our once a week email that comes out. It's even got a little calendar at the top so you can find exactly what you're looking for and jump to that piece of FP Weekly. If you're not getting it and you think you should be, check your spam filter because sometimes it gets stuck there. If you're not getting it and you want to get it, go to firstparish.org and you can sign up there. This snowy day seems like a good time to remind you that we have hymnals available for home use. If you have been joining regularly by Zoom or you join sometimes by Zoom and would appreciate having some hymnals, come to the office during office hours and maybe just give Beth an email so that you can coordinate, since it's been a while since we had hymnals just waiting for people to pick up. Today, we are not having coffee hour, but I invite anyone who would like to just gather in a smaller community for some reflection time to join the worship sharing circle. Pamela Dritt is our facilitator today, and you'll see the Zoom link down in the chat after our benediction. It's actually there now too, so you've got lots of options, but you'll want to stick around for the benediction, and we are reprising our choral benediction, so stick around for that. You'll also see the link in the chat to sign up for FP Weekly.
Now I invite you to join me in singing a hymn together, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place by Joyce Poley. The words will appear on your screen in just a moment. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when
when our heart is in a holy place.
As you go forth today, whether you go forth to a cozy fire or to a big adventurous romp in the snow, may you listen for the sound of the genuine in each moment. May you heed the sound of the genuine in yourself and in others. Listen generously, and may you feel love with you in your time of need and in your time of joy. Let us say together our benediction. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings.
Oh.